Good day. I just want to make a quick disclaimer and say that I intend to use extreme language in this video. And also I want to be clear that I intend no ill will towards the bands, the fans, the vendors, the staff who did their best, and the sound crew. Also a special shout out to Shinedown, Oliver Anthony, Jacoby Shaddix, and Slipknot. More on that later. So on that note, here is my video love letter to a bunch of fucking deplorable picks. Fuck you, Blue Ridge Rockfest 2023. Fuck you in all the inappropriate areas you can and can't imagine. Fuck you hard. A special fuck you directly to Jonathan Sly. You have reserved a special place in hell for your work with Blue Ridge Rockfest and purpose-driven events. As a quick background, I want to point your attention to the court cases Priller versus Blue Ridge Rock Festival LLC and Sands versus Blue Ridge Rock Festival LLC. Two cases brought against the festival by former employees for non-payment. There's additional things going along with the non-payment aspect, but for non-payment, and with history like that, all of this will make a lot more sense as I continue. So, Blue Ridge Rockfest 2023. It's a hard rock and heavy metal festival put on at the Virginia International Raceway and scheduled for September 7th through the 10th with a late announced September 5th early camping check-in and a September 6th standard camping check-in, which included a special campground free concert happening during the day on September the 6th. Meaning you get in to the concert and then, or to the venue, and then you actually get to see this free concert with several bands. I think it was like 6 or 7 bands. We didn't get to see any of those, and I'll get into the story in a moment. So, this is how our story begins. My girlfriend had previously traveled to Orlando, Florida, for the Ghost of Monomarth concert on October 31st in Tampa, making special arrangements regarding Hurricane Idalia. Unfortunately, the show was canceled, but in some sense, it can be considered justified because, you know, hurricanes and shit. So, I drove down from Ontario to Orlando. We spent a couple days in Florida, and then we began to head north for North Carolina. Wednesday morning, September 6th, we pick up our RV rental, get supplies and fuel, and then we go to Virginia International Raceway. Or that was the intention, anyways. At 3:30 p.m., we arrived in Milton, Virginia. Actually, technically, it's Milton, North Carolina. And turned towards the fairgrounds in Virginia to go and get our passes at will call. 10 miles per gallon. More on that later. Because we are Canadian, apparently the organizers are unwilling to mail the wristbands, so we were forced into a line we were told later was as long as 8 miles. By my estimation, ours was around 6 miles or 10 kilometers. Pretty short line, yeah. Now, I want to make a quick aside here and say I didn't make this video to piss and moan or cry about the money spent. I'm sure there will be some small pittance, but the main reason I feel I needed to make this video was to let people in from first-hand experience and from my business experience just how much of a fuckstick, ass-licking dillhole the organizers are and why I believe things went down as they did. There are theories, but I believe my theory is more sinister and likely the real motivation behind the series of events that unfolded. Okay, so as we start lining up, we start noticing various things and being made aware by others on social media that more is going on than meets the eye, and it is much worse than we thought. First things first, a 6-mile line that moves a few car lengths every 20 to 30 minutes. Well, that tends to go quite slow, as you can imagine. By about 5 p.m., the line started moving quickly, which raised our spidey senses. Soon we realized that we are being ushered back into the fairgrounds lot and lined up in order. At this point, the line ahead of the fairgrounds, still 5 miles from the raceway, continues moving forward with no movement from any of us. 8.6 miles per gallon. After a while, we see some VDOT vehicles show up. So that's the Department of Transport for the state of Virginia. This is my first real clue that the authorities are not happy. Eventually, some of this group gets going, and since we are in the third row, it takes a while yet. Did I mention it was 36 Celsius or 97 Fahrenheit? By 7 p.m., we're back on the road, and we had already started seeing excuses about the event, with dozens of people going home from the staff with heat stroke. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. They definitely should have gone. If you're ill, you shouldn't be working. More on that later. So conditions such as what we faced are no joke. Lots of water, electrolytes, and shade are 100% required. These are not provided, we wondered. Spoiler, they were not provided. So between shutting the RV off between moves to conserve fuel and moving very infrequently, the sun goes down with still 3.5 miles to go. 7.5 miles per gallon. Side note, I'm mentioning that because we started at around 10 miles per gallon on this trip, and thanks to all the time we spent idling, which we tried to idle as little as possible, we went through a shit ton of fuel. And we were one vehicle out of 30,000, 20,000. I have no idea how many vehicles were actually there. So in saying that, how many gallons or liters of fuel were actually wasted just idling? A lot. A lot. Like probably in the tens of thousands of gallons one day. Not exactly optimum. All right, so moving on. Around 10:30, we get to the main intersection in Milton with roughly 2.5 miles to go. 6.6 miles per gallon. By 1 a.m., we get to the police-controlled intersection on Highway 57 with Highway 693, and roughly 1 mile to go. 6.0 miles per gallon. 30 minutes later, cars split to the right, RVs to the left. Score! We managed to pass quite a few and continue forward. Less than a mile to go. Kick ass. Around 2:30, we get to security at the raceway. Basically, there were 2 lanes coming in, and it split to, I believe it was 6. It seemed incredibly random as to who went where, and we happened to stay in the first lane, which is where most of the other RVs were that we saw. So, a quick check for contraband, and we're off. Well, not so fast. Not exactly off. Took about 15 more minutes to get through there. And then now we're onto the racetrack. From that point, it was a little bit of clear pathway. Then we managed to drive 2 abreast. That's what they suggested that we do. Down the track towards the camping area. Around 3:30, we get stopped by a staff member who told us that the old man back there was supposed to tell us to turn right. Well, he didn't. And there were 6 of us that got through. There were 3 trucks pulling trailers and 3 RVs, just like ours. So they told us we needed to turn around and follow them. So we turn around and we follow this lady on the grass, side note, and it wasn't exactly flat. There were definitely some uphills. So as we're going along, 5 made it and 1 didn't. It eventually made it, but yeah, one of the trucks couldn't even get up the hill. So great idea. Awesome planning. Way to go. 5.2 miles per gallon. By 3:45, we were finally in the RV section. Not home free yet. Another lineup, we were sent past regular RV, which is what we paid for, and instead we were over to the area with power hookups, which in hindsight was a plus because we were able to keep up with the air conditioning and burn less fuel, which was nice. However, this was probably 1,500 to 2,000 feet further than we were intending to be from the show. So it just made getting back and forth between the show and the RV a lot more of a task. So you were basically stuck at the show, unless you really, really, really wanted to go back to the RV. Or you could pay a taxi. You could pay a taxi, basically $5 to go back. Okay. Then, basically 4:30 a.m., we finally back into our spot. And we're sitting at about 4.8 miles per gallon. So we drove something like 65 miles or so. And at 4.8 miles a gallon, we used a lot of gallons. Okay, so 13 hours before we set up shop, 13 hours before we set up shop. Pure incompetence, pure mismanagement, terrible planning. Fuck you, Blue Ridge. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment and give some advice to anyone planning a festival. Determine a legitimate capacity and sell up to that limit, but not over. Be specific about how many camping spots you have, RV spaces, glamping, etc. It's not a joke. It's important, nay, vital to do so. Now, once you've done this, devise a plan. Create more than one entrance. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but more than one entrance. Let me reiterate. There were more than 46,000 people using one entrance. Some of the later numbers seem to indicate that there were more like 50,000 people. So, 50,000 people using one frickin' entrance. Yeah, not good. So not 2, not 3, not 4, but 1. You could really start to see the fuckery work as the day went on. So, back to the advice. Open more than one entrance. With 3 types of arrivals, RV, camping, glamping, I don't know, maybe 3 entrances. Just a thought. Maybe 3 entrances. How about set up 3 offsite areas to stage each group together and then bring them in? I don't know. Seems pretty complicated, but it kind of seems a little better than one frickin' entrance. I think you get the point. All right. So other good ideas include: ensure you pay your staff. Ensure your staff can work safely. Ensure you have enough staff and extras for good measure. Ensure you have proper communication system for all staff. No, cell phones are not sufficient. Ensure you purchase enough supplies, including camping passes and admission wristbands and many others. We literally went to will call, got our general admission passes, and we're told, we ran out of camping passes. You're going to have to go to the main ticket office when you get onto site. Great. Let's just line up again and wait for more bullshit. Anyways, so now we get into Thursday, September 7th. Having missed all of the free artists from the previous day, our first real artist, Exodus, followed by Vince Neil, The Ghost Inside, and Cavalier Conspiracy, basically completed our first day. Then we chose to head back to the RV as we were a bit overheated, and then the weather hit us. Legitimately, we watched as tents were blown hundreds of feet, awnings smashed, and lots of other damage, along with torrential rains and hail. Around 7:30, most had passed except there was still lightning in the distance. Official messages? Staff notifying patrons? Anybody anywhere? No. I walked to the general store to ask questions and was basically told they don't know anything. Shortly after, a camper walked by and let us know that the stages were down, and gear was damaged, and that the event was canceled for Thursday. So thanks to a camper who happened to walk around and inquire, we were actually able to figure out what was going on. So, okay. The weather got us. Festival 0, Nature 1. Alright. It can happen. Any outdoor show has the potential for that. Moving on to Friday. But it was at that point that I should mention we have 50,000 plus people in a very small area. And if you know anything about cell phone towers and how they work in rural areas, this makes them sad. So suffice it to say, if I could get a text through, check the weather, or the Blue Ridge app, it was a freaking miracle. So, at that point, Friday just happened. No big deal, eh? Basically, it ended with us seeing Motionless in White, Danzig, and Slipknot. Most of the coverage from the show will probably show either Motionless in White or Slipknot. There was a massive turnout. That was like everybody that was there, basically. And yeah, it pretty much went off without a hitch. There were other concerns, but for the most part, if you were properly prepared, that day went well. Okay. So, now moving on, we get into Saturday, and that's where all the fun tends to happen. So, Saturday, 10:35, there was a message. It was in the Blue Ridge app, and I could no longer access the app. Apparently, it's not up to date, and I need to update it, but there is no update to be had. So, in other words, they broke the app so you can no longer access the data. Not sketchy at all. Okay, so I can no longer access that one. I would share it with you if I could. 11:32, I recall these numbers because I saw them many, many times. I wish I would have screenshot them, but oh well. Another message was sent. I can also no longer access that message. So, 3 p.m. Keep in mind, the concert is not going on. We haven't been told anything whatsoever. Garbage is piling up. Not a word from any staff members. Nobody comes around. No nothing. And we were also in the most expensive area in basically the entire event. So, yeah, not exactly impressed with that aspect. Anyways, no concert, but there was also no weather. Earlier in the morning, we had a little bit of thunder, somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning. And we had some rain that stopped before, if I recall, it stopped before noon. And the first performances were scheduled to start around noon. So, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the message that we got on the screen, and I will read it to you, and then I will give you my interpretation of the message. So, attention Blue Ridge fans. Following a thorough assessment of the weekend's continued severe weather. I'll get into that in a minute. With more forecasted, we have made the painful decision to cancel today's programming in the interest of your safety. Please be safe and take care of one another. All officials, agencies, and festival personnel will continue to monitor and work on this situation. We will have an update on tomorrow's programming by 5 p.m. today. Okay, so here are my notes on what this message actually means. So, when we get to the point of in the interest of your safety, so we have made the painful decision to cancel today's programming in the interest of your safety. Okay, so one working water station for more than 50,000 people and $5 per bottle otherwise. And you're looking out for my safety? Fuck you, Blue Ridge. Minimal shade and 12 hours in the sun at 90 degrees Fahrenheit or over 34 Celsius, and you're looking out for my safety? Fuck you, Blue Ridge. I don't fucking think so, assholes. That's what I say to you. So, a quick side note. Given some back of napkin calculations, I've done an estimate, and I come up with these numbers. So, the production generated, I believe, over $30 million in revenue, and paid the artists around $2.7 million. There were supposed to be about 140 artists. Do you think water, shade, and proper staffing should be possible with the difference? That would be like $27.3 million. You can't pay for the venue, you can't pay for security, you can't pay for staff, you can't pay for marketing, you can't pay for, like, with $27.3 million? I don't even know if those numbers are reasonably close, but I can say from previous years that the promoter had said he generated $23 million and they sold nowhere near the amount of tickets they sold this year. So the $30 million is probably on the low side. Okay, so the mention here of an update on tomorrow's programming should be a bit of foreshadowing. So they do mention here, like I said, we will have an update on tomorrow's programming by 5 p.m. today. We weren't even thinking about tomorrow's programming, we were thinking about today's, because as of the time that this message came out, there was no programming. And there was also no weather, like we literally saw sunshine. So, yeah, fuck you, Blue Ridge. Okay, so now moving on to 6 p.m. on Saturday. Yes, that's correct. The message previously had said 5 p.m. today, so they were even late on giving us a message. Fuck you, Blue Ridge. So, not by 5 p.m., 6 p.m. we get this message. Again, I'll put it on the screen and read it out. So with heavy hearts, due to this weekend's continued severe weather, no weather on this day, zero, aside from the little bit that was in the morning before anything happened, we must announce the cancellation of the final days of Blue Ridge Rock Festival. Your safety and well-being are our foremost concerns. So let me interpret as I go along here, okay? Weather excuse equals lie. Bullshit. Straight up. My safety? Fuck you. I'm in charge of my own safety. I am an adult human being. I don't need to be babysat. Okay. Moving on to the next paragraph here. We understand the disappointment this brings, and we share immensely in your sadness. You share in the sadness. To me, that means we don't give two shits. Not one. We don't give two shits. Okay? Moving on. Please know that this decision was made with the utmost consideration for everyone involved, and our focus is now on supporting those of you still on site. Interpretation. Utmost consideration. Our bank accounts needed to be consulted. Still on site means please leave now, i.e. fuck off. We are working diligently to provide refund details and will share the information early this week when business reopens. In the meantime, we encourage you to stay safe and take care of each other. Working diligently to provide refunds means talking to our lawyers to see what we can get away with. Share information this week means never fuck off, peasant. Encourage you to stay safe. Fuck off, peasant. This has been an agonizing turn of events for what was to be such a special weekend. There will be more... Well, their English isn't very good. There will be much more that we unveil over the next few days. Rest assured, we will take care of you despite these difficult circumstances. Thank you for everything. With heartfelt gratitude, Blue Ridge Rock Festival. Going back, agonizing turn of events. We stole your money. Much more that we need to reveal in the coming days, whatever. Means we will pre-sell all the gullible people on the bullshit that we intend to spew to play victim to the municipality and all of the other parties we intend to blame, just like we did last year and the year before that. They're pretty sneaky. Okay, so rest assured. That means fuck off, peasant. Thank you for everything. Means 50,000 people played into our plan. Heartfelt gratitude means fuck off, peasant. Are we getting the message yet? Okay. So now, what plan am I talking about with the 50,000 people played into our plan? Well, insurance fraud, of course. Now, sadly, it's technically not fraudulent when you provide enough of a service to meet the insurance policy minimum threshold. What did their event policy cover and what were the terms? Well, wouldn't we all like to know? This, my friends, is what I believe this entire fuckfest sandwich was about. All the timing, the way everything played out, delay. It spells out a pretty sketchy situation. So Thursday was a legit weather incident. Friday goes off relatively normal with a side order of turd service for peasants. So basically, garbages were never emptied. The shitters were disgusting. Nothing was done. There was garbage everywhere. Yeah, it was not a pretty sight ever. So Saturday starts with rain and lightning prior to any bands playing, and the rain stops a little before noon. They can make the excuse that they made it more than halfway. So the weather stops, the sun comes out, no updates, no performances, nothing. Just silence. Around 4:30 on the Saturday, we hear about an impromptu acoustic performance from Shinedown and Oliver Anthony. So we head over. Thousands of people standing around Oliver Anthony, Chris Lunsford. If you didn't know, Oliver Anthony, it's just a stage name. Anyways. And so basically we get there. There's not an amp in sight. And there's thousands of people around Oliver Anthony and Shinedown. And suffice it to say, we couldn't hear shit. So we basically just said, well, screw it, let's go back to the RV. So we went back to the RV. To add insult to injury, there was a group of people standing around near the general store doing death metal karaoke with a battery-powered system. Yeah, it was actually louder than the acoustic performance. Well planned out. Anyways, so it was a little after this that we got the final message, packed up our things, and took off back to Raleigh-Durham to get a hotel and end up returning our RV. So, I'm going to give Shinedown, Oliver Anthony, and Papa Roach the benefit of the doubt that they were acting in good faith by trying to do the right thing for the fans, just putting on a show, doing what they can. They were already there, might as well try to play something. The fans are there to see them play, so, you know. Now, some have mentioned that having them playing may actually invalidate refunds because technically they played, you know, on the Saturday. So there were actually performances on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Whether it was a valid performance or not, that's a question that everybody would have, but some people got to hear them play. But yeah, at this point, I kind of doubt that many of the people care. It is what it is. We got fucked. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to take a moment to share some reactions to the event here. I'll just put them up on the screen, and you can read through some of those yourself. Suffice it to say, people have not been very happy with their experience. Alrighty. So now on to some additional fuck you Blue Ridge news. It has come out in more and more comments that the police and health department actually shut the event down due to being well over capacity and not having an evacuation plan in case of emergencies, as well as other violations. Lots of labor violations and stuff like that as well. So it's also been said that much of the staff walked out due to lack of food, water, showers, or places to sleep. They were made to work 12 plus hours in extreme and unsafe weather conditions. No breaks, no shelter. There was wind, there was heat, there was rain, there was hail. You name it. Pretty sure you'd walk out too. As you should. Add to that, you know, previous lawsuits for not paying people. Fuck you, Blue Ridge. Fuck you, Jonathan Sly. You're not fit to run a metal event like this. These bands should not give you their time whatsoever. So, what really happened here? Well, fans got fucked. The bands got fucked. The staff got fucked. The community got fucked. The insurance company got fucked. The promoter ran a massive scam, and as of now got away with it. And a bunch of lawyers will make a lot of money dealing with this. Happy days. So what do we do, or what do we take away from this? Well, we as a community need to come together to bring justice to situations like this, which is part of why I'm speaking out on this. We need to provide all the support we can to our favorite artists, festivals, venues, and industry players, whenever we can, and make it known who the bad actors are. Vote with your dollars. Only give them to worthy people. It appears as though Slipknot paid for food and support for staff and other bands, so we want to see more stuff like that. I mean, that's great. I like hearing stories like that. It's not incumbent upon them to do that, but we certainly appreciate hearing, bands being kind to other bands. most bands have really cool people in them, so that tends to be a common thread. Yeah, we basically need to help each other out as much as we can, support local shows and venues and artists, get out to see bands, try to get involved in the industry in any way you can. Be a force for good out there. So I just want to mention that, you know, in my view, and what really pushed me to making this video was the idea that this event clearly had decisions made that were absolutely not in the interest of the fans or the bands or the staff for that matter. So really, we need to just fight this and make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen again. And at this point, I actually want to make an aside as well. Don't worry, I'm almost done. Soon. Okay. So I want to make an aside, and I want to say that my girlfriend and I had actually been noticing, you know, many festivals advertised on SiriusXM satellite radio. So like Sonic Temple, Welcome to Rockville, Louder Than Life, Rocklahoma, and so on. But really didn't hear a peep about Blue Ridge Rockfest, which really struck us as kind of weird. We proceeded anyways, but there are many reasons for it, timing and everything else, and then the bands that were listed. So I want to say a special thank you to Jose Mangan, Katie Babs, Shannon Guns, Sean the Butcher, Ian Christie, Hardy, Steve Cavino, and everyone else at SiriusXM on Octane Turbo and Liquid Metal, who through their silence on Blue Ridge effectively withdrew their consent and advised against Blue Ridge. And they were for much more reputable events. So, you know, the fact that we saw it play out and saw the evidence on the other side. One side note I can also tell you is that I know for a fact that Jose follows Blue Ridge Rockfest on Instagram. So it's not like he doesn't get the information about it. But I have a strange suspicion that he smelt foul on the promoter, and as a result didn't want to support his work on their platform. So in doing so, I say thank you, Jose. That's awesome. So clearly, you know, he was basically supporting other more reputable events, run by people that basically Jose and crew respect and support. So rock on, Jose. We love you for all you do and for the metal community. And I've actually been a subscriber almost straight through from 2004 to now. So keep rocking Liquid Metal and SiriusXM. Alright, so having said all that, I want to wrap this video up by saying thank you to all the fans and bands who came out and all the awesome people we met. It was disappointing, but we still enjoyed ourselves, and we'll keep supporting the music we love. I really want to be the one on the stage instead, though. So come on, metal and rock community, hire me to fill in on the next tour. Alright, and on that note, I'm signing off, but thank you for checking out the video. Liking, subscribing, sharing with your friends, all that kind of good stuff. And here's to many more shows, just presented in a much better way. And fuck you, Blue Ridge. Cheers.